Hello, hello, hello. And it's your man E here, main event E, your man for all your wrestling, know abouts and all your crazy cool factoids. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the world of wrestling industry as we provide insight on just basically everything that is wrestling. We have a little bit of a Thursday night wrestling review, which is Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. And we have a WWE SmackDown tonight, a nice little preview, what you're going to see, in terms of Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, the tag team tournament, things heating up between Rey Mysterio and Santos. It's going to be pretty badass. And we're gonna, follow that up with, just a lot of nice little wrestling stories. We have our wrestling news roundup, and yeah, make sure you find a snack, get a nice cold beverage, and don't go anywhere. So, as always, we get a number of questions from our viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions gets read on air, I ask you to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Just put your questions up on top of the list so I can communicate and interact with the fans of the show or just anybody dropping in to watch their first wrestling podcast. And if that's the case, I feel absolutely honored. But hey, it helps the show. Leave a positive review, hit that like and subscribe button. Um, here at the GSMC podcast network, we like peace, love, and positivity, in the world of sports. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to our first segment. We have our Thursday night wrestling review. Let's kicking right on into it. We have our Ring of Honor Women's Television World Championship tournament, and I gotta be honest, guys, I'm sorry I steered you down the wrong path. Um, Billy Starks defeated Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes Martinez was kind of like my pick to kind of win it all because she has that like just that experience that it takes to hold a championship of that kind of caliber. Kind of like compare her to like kind of like a Charlotte Flair. Like when Charlotte Flair is always back in the WWE creative and writing, they know that they can put a strap on, Charlotte Flair, and she's good enough on the mic, she's good enough in the ring, and she's good enough to kind of push her other employees, her fellow wrestlers to kind of produce a match that everybody wants to see. And I think Mercedes Martinez really excels in that. But Billy Starks, I'm not taking anything away from her. She won, fair and square, fair and square. But I don't know. This is definitely going to heat things up a little bit because the next match I want to talk about was the Queen Aminata defeating Red Velvet, which is crazy because both of them came into this fight like on a roll. They've won like five of their last, six matches or something like that. I read on Ring of Honor, but it was nice that the Queen was able to get her first win over Red Velvet because Red Velvet had her number for the longest time. So now, Queen Aminata punches her ticket to fight at Ring of Honor Supercard for that women's television world championship. So, make sure next month, by the way, look it up, find out where it is, find out where it's at, and it's gonna be a good watch. All right, kind of doing a rundown here. We got Lee Johnson defeating a London Lightning. We also have Johnny TV. He did a backstage promo. Johnny TV. If you don't know him as Johnny TV, he was Johnny Nitro, and then he eventually moved from Johnny Nitro to John Morrison, where he was kind of like this Jim Morrison, where he'd come out and he started to be like frolicking through the wind, and like you would see cameras like snapping like shots, and you had the black and white kind of going on, so it was kind of like this authentic, like it kind of seemed like you were watching like The Doors, like what I mean. That was kind of what he was kind of going for. I actually remember that night he came out on, I think it was Raw, the night he came out on Raw, and he was like, and not a lot of you guys know this, but my name's John Morrison, and then everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's like Jim Morrison," but it's not Jim Morrison, it's John Morrison. But hey, whatever floats your boat, whatever helps you get the most, likes or the most, viewers and stuff like that. If you want to compare yourself to Jim Morrison, which was, he was a phenomenal musician. Um, like go right on ahead, but I don't know if you're gonna represent that Morrison name, make sure you do that. For the Doors, people are strange, people are crazy. I'm just kidding. But I would like to see him make a run in Ring of Honor myself. He wasn't really, he's a good wrestler. He puts on a lot of good matches. He tag teamed with the Miz for a pretty long time, and they kind of had that like their little gimmick back in WWE like a couple years ago. And I don't know. I just think Johnny TV could definitely like fight for matches. Like the men's digital media championship, or like fight, or maybe go to AEW. That's a possibility in the world of that kind of wrestling with New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, and then you had AEW, which is kind of cool. The way that they're all kind of intertwined. But I don't know. I think that'd be. I don't know. I think Johnny TV. He has enough talent to kind of you know, keep the fans on the edge of their seats, tune in. And I know he's been doing it a long time. He's been doing this thing of a very, very long time. He's been in the wrestling business. So it's interesting to find out what they're going to do with his character next. So Hakura Shida she defeated Rachel Ellinger, and Athena, of course, came out. She pulled up a chair. All eyes were on Shida. Obviously, Shida came back, and she obviously was a Ring of Honor Women's Champion, prior, years before. And honestly, I think she's going to be the next one to challenge Athena. Athena has really been kind of like dominant in the women's division there. Um, and I don't know, she's like I said, I saw her before as Ember Moon in NXT and WWE, and I was very, very, very sad to see her go. And then once when I found out she was on Ring of Honor, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. Like a lot of these people on Ring of Honor, you kind of see, and it's like kind of like a blast of nostalgia. You're like, oh my god, I remember John Morrison or Johnny Nitro. I remember Athena. I remember watching Dean Ambrose. I remember watching Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler and stuff like that. And a lot of people, they still wonder like where these guys go. But they kind of just some people just accept them to be like, oh well, they're not on WWE, so they're probably not in the wrestling world anymore, which is wrong. Which is wrong because WWE is not the only wrestling fandom out there. Obviously there's more. So it's good to expand your mind. Like, sorry, that was a little too much. Um, so like I said, Athena came out, total badass, and basically stating her claim as like the most dominant Ring of Honor Women's Champion of all time, which no one's proved her otherwise. So, anyways, so Diamante says to Billy Starks that the win she had was a fluke over Mercedes Martinez. And just to kind of defend my stance here, because I was obviously wrong and I lied to you guys. I lied to you guys. I'm sorry. I just thought she was really good, and like all of a sudden, this Billy Starks girl, as talented as she is, she comes and she messes up my pick, man. Thank God I didn't put money on that. You know what I mean? Like, but the sports gambling's wrong. You know what I mean? But if you do it, on the weekends, it's cool. I'm just kidding. But so her kind of going out there and stating that it was a fluke is just basically kind of like a setup for a Diamante and a Billy Starks match for the future. That's why I think Billy Starks would lose, or maybe she's gonna win, and maybe that'll be a reason for Diamante to come into the picture and challenge her at a pay-per-view down the line, which is a lot of the times what wrestling does. You know what I mean? Wrestling, oftentimes when they pick their champion, as soon as they do, they kind of like start planning for the next, like, start writing the stories, guys. You have to get the butts in the seats, the eyes on the tube, and just, I don't know, you just have to put the fun in the brand. So I think we have some pretty good matches to come in the women's division. The women's division, the Ring of Honor has been kicking ass. Like, to be honest, like in NXT, it's pretty good. Obviously, WWE, it's like they're kind of held on this pedestal, but Ring of Honor, I think they're doing it right. All right, so Matt Sindal defeated T.J. Crawford, and this brings us to a Thursday Night Impact, where the Rebellion referendum to find out who's going to challenge the X Division champion Mustafa Ali. Jake something came out the victor. The match was a little, the way it was kind of introduced was a little funky, but we have a match. We have the next X Division challenger, and I don't know. Mustafa Ali's kind of playing that cocky, like can't touch this thing, can't touch. But he's playing off that like that confident like heel. So he's doing a really good job of that. So we had the Time Splitters defeating GYV. Also, we had Crazy Steve defeating PCO, which like I talked about in our last podcast about PCO. Like this guy looks, he's a monster, but usually sometimes the monsters are like kind of like that gentle soul on the inside. You know what I mean? Like kind of like how like Kane during his run with Daniel Bryan as Team Hell No, where you kind of got to learn the whole different side of Kane. And, he's not just this guy like The Undertaker's brother who's emotionally damaged, storyline, kayfabe. But he has feelings. I have feelings too. I know, but like I don't know the way they kind of do these with the wrestlers is I don't know, like it's pretty cool. It's like a storyline that works 110% of the time. So hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Ash by Elegance wins her third straight match wrestling for Impact Wrestling. So I think she's kind of like the next like up and comer. Like they're kind of grooming her up to kind of fight someone like Athena or Billy Starks for the women's television world championship, which would be kind of cool. Like if Billy Starks wins at the Supercard next month, maybe she can fight in a triple threat match between Diamante and and Ash by Elegance. That would be actually pretty cool to watch. You know, and the way she finished her match, I kind of had to take a step back. Her finishing move was a Swanton Bomb, which is obviously famously made by Jeff Hardy. So I don't know, it's kind of cool to see that like kind of. I know Kevin Owens uses it, and I know a lot of people kind of use it, but like not very much. It was kind of trademarked by Jeff Hardy when he was doing his whole thing with the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. But I don't know, it was kind of it was kind of cool to see that again, especially like in the women's division. I don't know, pretty awesome. Next, Nick Nemeth, he spoke about that he will no, it's not even a chance that you know like he will lose to Moose, but he says he's gonna win at Rebellion, and you can't stop him. Like you can't stop this guy. He has a huge like chip on his shoulder, especially coming from the WWE. And I think he actually poked a personal shot at Vince McMahon when he said the system has always been against him. Like where he was the world champion, and then eventually like he was kind of not used so to speak, but he was kind of like that guy to kind of usually there's like that heel who dominates, and then some people have that heel as kind of like a bridge marker for WWE to build up this baby face, so the baby face could get super popular with the crowd and eventually beat down the soft heel, which I think was kind of like a Dolph Ziggler kind of thing. But you know, so Moose spoke about it. And he spoke about how Nick Nemeth through his career, he has been in a lot of top matches. He has a lot of accomplishments. He's also faced some of the business's best, which he has. In WWE, you see Dolph Ziggler. I remember seeing him get destroyed by Goldberg, but I don't know. I think all Goldberg matches are kind of like, I don't know, like I would be better off not watching them. Like I like Goldberg. Like he's cool and all, but he was never really like a good wrestler. Like he never really put on great matches. Like he was always that one hitter quitter kind of guy, kind of like a Brock Lesnar, kind of like a Mike Tyson in a ring, where he wasn't like he didn't do all this fancy stuff like the bob and weave. But once when he hit that final shot, like you knew it was over. The match didn't last as long as you would hope it would be, but I guess winning's winning. So yeah, last thing I want to talk about is Jordan Grace defeating the challenger, Tasha Steeles, which we kind of all knew this would happen because I don't know, Jordan Grace. She actually kind of broke the barrier in the Women's Royal Rumble this year, where she came out and she was in the Royal Rumble in WWE. So it was kind of cool. Like, you're like, oh wow, you see this Impact wrestler, and before then it was like never really seen. As I mentioned before, that like a lot of people would probably like to see Sting versus The Undertaker, DX versus the NWO, Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like you would love to see these guys just like go ham at each other, but it never, it never happened, But I think it'd be super cool to like see like Daniel Bryan walk out on like a new Japan wrestling platform and just challenge Roman Reigns and WWE and just like I don't know, see how that. I think that would be pretty cool. I think wrestling, the world of wrestling, would be like, oh, like, that's crazy. How are they allowing this? Like, oh, like I know I'd be super excited to see it. Like, we miss Daniel Bryan. Well, Brian Danielson. Oh God, I'm never gonna get used to that. But he's doing good with where he's at right now. So obviously, we wish him the best. But Jordan Grace is a great dominant champion. I think she's gonna have the strap on her for a pretty long time. All right, don't go anywhere. We have our WWE SmackDown preview, and it's not it's every SmackDown episode. It's kind of a lot to break down, but let's try to break it down within the segment time. So don't go anywhere.